Turning to other news, and the US has met with European leaders in Berlin for peace talks in the hope of bringing about an end to the Russian war in Ukraine. The talks centered around security guarantees that could come in exchange for Ukraine dropping its bid for NATO membership. Oleksandra Matviichuk is Ukrainian human rights lawyer and heads the Center for Civil Liberties, which won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2022. And she joins me now from Kyiv. Good to have you with us this evening here. Now, firstly, one of the big developments in Berlin is that the US agreeing to a NATO-style security guarantee. Do you see this as a big and significant step towards securing a peace deal with between Ukraine and Russia?
Security guarantees is a key issue because without answering this question, we will not stop this war. Especially it's important for Ukraine, who has previous experience when we gave up the third nuclear arsenal in the world in exchange of security guarantees, particularly from US in Budapest Memorandum. And then we got nothing. So we need something concrete, which will be in the documents with some concrete measures and rules, how these measures will be introduced into force if Russia violates ceasefire.
Yes. Now, the President Zelenskyy says that the meetings are productive but not easy. And that's because of the big question that surrounds territory. Should Ukraine be giving up territory gained by Russia since 2022? And we're talking about areas like Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia.
There are two issues about this. First, it's not even problem that it violates Ukrainian constitution. It's problem that it violated UN Charter. Because the existing world order is based that there is a state and state have sovereignty and there is inviolability of state borders. And if Russia can occupy and legitimize the occupied territories, why other countries can do the same? So it's a ruin, this existing world order, and will open a path to the global war. Because let's remind that in past century, when inviolability of state borders were violated, it's led to the Second World War. And second issue, it's not empty spaces. Millions of people, millions of Ukrainians live on these territories. May I ask, what will be with them? We can't leave them without any protection. Even if we can't release these territories, it doesn't mean that we can just give up their security and leave them for torture and death under Russian occupation.
And do you see Vladimir Putin ever agreeing to a peace deal that would, call for those territories to be given back to Ukraine?
Frankly speaking, I don't think that Vladimir Putin wants peace. He wants to achieve his goals. And he started large-scale war, not just to occupy one more part of Ukrainian land. It's not the war for Avdiivka or Bakhmut. It's naive to think that Putin lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers just to occupy tiny Ukrainian cities, which majority of Russians couldn't find on the map. He's not mad. His goal is different. He started large-scale war because he wants to occupy and destroy the whole Ukraine and move further. He sees Ukraine as a bridge to Europe. They publicly discussing what next country they plan to attack.
Yes, and can I get your thoughts on, Ukraine perhaps abandoning its ambitions to join NATO as collateral for achieving the peace deal to end the war?
I think this question is important not just for Ukraine, but for NATO itself, because Ukrainian army is the biggest army in Europe. And the only one army who have a real battle experience how to fight with Russia in a new type of war. And because the previous military experience of countries are irrelevant. This is different type of war, the war of unmanned machine, of mass drone attacks, of total transparency of battlefield, and cheap and quick long-range distant weapons. So Ukraine is not a beneficiary. Ukraine can be a contributor to NATO.
And in that way, then how do you then foresee an end to this conflict if Russia doesn't agree to any peace deal? And that, as you say, Ukraine shouldn't be giving up territory, shouldn't be giving up perhaps ambitions for NATO because of its military position. How do you see this ending?
We jointly must to do the price of war higher for Russia than the price of peace. because Putin will stop only when he will be stopped. Red carpets is not working for dictators. Trends, this is the only language we dictators understand. And we need decisive actions of special tribunal of aggression creation, confiscation of Russian frozen assets, and all other things to make price for Putin to wage the war higher than to stop this war.
And can I get your thoughts on how, what you have made of the Trump administration and how it's been carrying out negotiations? Do you believe them to have been done in good faith, or is it just about business, the business of rare earths, for instance?
President Trump openly said that it's not his war, it's a war of Biden, but the bad news that now it's his war. It's a Trump's war as well, because if he will not get a peace, he will remain in world history as a weak president who is weaker than Putin, who can't stop, who failed to stop this war. And he can't afford himself to be like this in the world history. And that's why this is a Trump's war. And that is why he must demonstrate strengths. United States has leverages how to stop Russia. The question is whether or not United States will use these leverages. And one important point, President Trump uses transactional approach, but logic of Putin different. He's not transactional. His logic is historical. He dreams about his legacy.
What is the biggest leverage you believe that the US has against Russia in the context of this war?
They can break Russian economy, which feeds this war. Russia can send dozens and hundreds of rockets and drones daily to Ukrainian cities because they still have money to produce this and to buy these rockets and drones. When we decrease the potential of Russian economy to feed this war, Putin will stop.
Yes, and lots has been said about, perhaps the potential need for Ukraine to go to elections. Do you believe Ukraine should be holding elections right now?
I'm Ukrainian, and let me tell that we don't need to be lecturing about election. In 2004, millions of people in Ukraine stood up their voice and peacefully demonstrated when our electoral vote, right to vote, was stolen. So people in Ukraine respect elections. The question is just insecurity. We can't conduct election during the massive bombardment of our cities.
Okay, Oleksandra Matviichuk, we really do appreciate your time in speaking with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.